Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd, as well as my friends at Yarnspirations.com. Today we're going to do the unicorn snuggle sack. This is so cute, I love it. It's a fluffy unicorn. So if you're wanting something quite fun, today is your lucky day. So let's begin looking at this pattern more carefully. In today's pattern, we're going to be examining the unicorn snuggle sack and working through the steps step by step. And I have some resource tools that will be able to help you even have more success. And I'm going to go outside the lines of the box. Woo, I know, living dangerously over here on the Crochet Crowd. And I'm going to be showing you some techniques to avoid slip stitching and all of that jazz in today's tutorial. We're going to work just incrementally, step by step, in order for you to be able to complete this from start to finish. This video has sound alerts added. When you hear this sound, it will be your signal that the segment is finishing up. Press stop and crochet the instructions, and then press play again to continue along in your project. So this unicorn is so tired, she's just lying there sleeping, and there's no child inside her at the moment, but this is what it looks like when there's nothing inside. So the child will slip inside the sack. The mane here is only on the front part of this, so the back half of this sack has no mane on it, and then the horn is attached afterward. And then, you know, the poor unicorn's so tired, she's sleeping there. We also have a heart that we're going to be doing in today's tutorial, and we also have a snout. The snout is made up of two pieces put together and then sewn to the side of the snuggle sack, just like you see here. So my first question to the designers was, is this a one-piece unit or not? So this is just a one-piece unit that goes around and around and around all the way from the bottom to the top. We start at the bottom, work our way up, and then what's going to happen is that we'll put that on afterward, because I was thinking that maybe the child can actually put their hands inside the snout, but you can't, because it's sewn on the outside of the snuggle sack. So in today's tutorial, what we're going to do is we're going to get you started on the bottom. You'll see that there's a nice rounded taper as we go, and there's about 6 revolutions of that, and then it's just a straight up shot, 60 inches if you can imagine, all the way to the top, and then we're going to then come around. So I'm going to show you some tips next on what you can do, because you don't see any slip stitching here at all, right? So let's talk about that next. So last year we did the snuggle sack that was a shark, and you will notice that in the model itself there was no slip stitching lines that you see here. So what happens here is that you can hide those slip stitching if you're careful about the way that you progress at it. Now the nice thing about it is that when you actually had this pattern and people actually did it online, you will notice that there was an actual slip stitching line that happens. Now depending on the length of the body of whatever you're doing, the slip stitching will automatically do like a sideways progression up. So you see how it's going to the side? So eventually this followed itself all the way to the underside of the shark and kept on going. So the problem with this is that with stitches, when you see stitches, what happens is they don't sit on top of each other, so they're always off to the side slightly. So when you do slip stitching, it'll always create a side line here. So what I'm going to do for you, because you will see it in your particular example, you will see the slip stitching line. So I'm going to show you how to avoid that line right from the start. And of course, if you don't watch this tutorial, you won't notice to do this. And I'm going to show you a continuous revolution concept where we don't have any slip stitching at all. So the nice thing about it is that slip stitching for some people is a nightmare, but if you can avoid that and have a perfect look all the way on the front and the back, it's something that you'll love. And as a crocheter, when I see anything, I always look, the slip stitching always catches my attention first. So you can avoid the slip stitching in the technique that I will show you. So if you're familiar with me in the Crochet Crowd, you notice that I like diagrams. So what I did is that I had Daniel draw me a line here, and this is what the bottom of the snuggle sack looks like, all in crochet format. So we're gonna start off with a chain. So we start off with the chain, and then we come up and then we work third chain from the hook and half double crochet right to the end and put 3 in the end and then come back. So the very first chain that we start with is the start of what will be the revolution. And what we're going to do is that you will notice that you will be able to get progressive on the outside. So if you want to take a look at this more carefully, you can take a screenshot of this if you'd like to and just be able to save it on your computer and do so. So you'll notice that the growth rate is incremental in very strategic places, just like you see it here. So this is something that I love. And once we get on to round number 6, you'll notice that there is an arrow here, and in the arrow that's where I'm going to show you how to avoid the slip stitching then for this round plus all the way to 60 inches for the sack. So what we're gonna do today is that we're gonna use an L, a size 8mm crochet hook today. So behind the scenes on the camera, I have actually made this sample already, and because I need to get started and it takes a while to get the sack done. So what I have is that we're gonna start off on the very bottom here, and then we're gonna do our bigger revolutions to get ourselves outward, and then it's just a straight shot up all the way to the very top of the snuggle sack, and you will see no matter what side that you look on, there is no slip stitching involved. Okay, so it's a nice clean shot, and it doesn't matter what side you look at. So the nice thing about this particular idea is that I'm gonna show you the continuous revolution so that you can have a perfectly seamless project, and then you can give this as a gift and have the 100% confidence of doing so. So what we're gonna do today is I'm gonna get you started to the bottom, and then you're gonna finish the sack, and then you'll come back when you're ready for that and continue today's tutorial. Before we begin today's tutorial, I want you to cut a couple extra strands of a different color of yarn that you'll be working with, and I'm going to be putting this aside because I'm gonna show you strategically where to place these in order to make your journey a lot easier. So get those yarn strands ready, and we'll be using those really soon. So let's begin with the slip knot using an L size 8mm crochet hook and Bernat blanket today. So what we're going to do is that we are going to chain a total of 34. So just remember this first one on there, the slip knot never counts as one. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and go all the way to 34 for me, and meet me back here in just a moment. So now that my chain is complete, I want to go third chain from the hook. So just count back. So 1, 2, and 3. Get the back loop only of that chain, and I want you to half double crochet into that one. So what I want you to do is that I want you to do a clean straight shot across the chain of just 1 half double crochet each, with the exception to the one at the very end. But I won't cloud your mind right now. Just half double crochet and leave the last stitch open for me, and I will meet you there in just a moment. So I've now come to the very end of my chain. You think that there's 2, but there's not. There's only 1 left here, because once you pull this tight, and don't pull it tight yet, make sure you crochet it first. So the last chain here, I want to put in 3 half double crochets. So watch what I'm gonna do. I'm going to just put the first one in, so right into the chain, and put the first one in, and just let the hook come out, and I want you to grab one of those strands that I had you cut, and I want you to just place it through underneath. This is going to represent the next time you come around that this is where you're going to start the fancy work on the edge. This just avoids all that crazy counting that we have to do. So this is a really cool idea. So into the same stitch again, I want you to put in 2 more half double crochets. So this is the very edge, and look how I'm naturally just turning the project over, and do it one more time please. So now we just put 3 double crochets into the end. So this represents the first one, second, and third. So what we're going to do then, it's now upside down. So we were crocheting like this across, and as we turned, we naturally turned the project over. So now this is the underside of the chain that we had started with, and starting in the very first one that we want to go is that we are going to then half double crochet ourselves all the way back except for the final chain. So the final chain, we just have to do something slightly different, and then we're gonna use the other stitch marker that I have, and we're just gonna half double crochet ourselves to that point. So just half double crochet again, and you're on the underside of the chain now, and I'll see you at the end of this chain. So as we come back around to where we had started, the first chain 2 right here that I'm pinching doesn't count as anything. So the first stitch is right here, and that's the very last one you're going to go into, and you're gonna go in that one a total of 2 times. But wait, I just did it once, and now just release the yarn and pull the extra one through. So that was 1 of 2 times, and then go back into the same one again, and see how I'm naturally turning the project around again, and I want you to attach to the first half double crochet. This is the chain 2 here, so you're gonna ignore that. Go right to the top of the first half double crochet and just attach it with the slip stitch. The slip stitching avoidance is not gonna happen until after we get the growth of this complete. So this is round number 1. So right now in the pattern we've gone and started, we did the chain, and then we went all the way around for round number 1. So now we're gonna progress to and chain up 2, which counts as nothing, and in the very first one we're gonna put 2 half double crochets in there, and we're going to half double crochet ourselves all the way across, and right where the first one that I had you mark, we're gonna put in 2, then the next one is 2, and then the next one is 2, and then come all the way back, and then we're gonna do 2 and 2 again, just so you see. So where I had you put that stitch marker in when we were just in the last round there, that's the start of that one, and that's the start of that one. So what we're going to do then in this round is that not only are we gonna go around, but I'm also gonna have you reposition your stitch markers to be ready for the next time you need to come around again in round number 3. So let's begin round number 2. So let's begin round number 2. We're gonna chain 2, which counts as nothing, it's just a builder, and in the very same one that you've done the join to, I want you to make sure that you put in 2 half double crochets. This puts the whole revolution into balance when you do that. So now what we're going to do is that we're gonna half double crochet ourselves across, and right where I had you put that last stitch marker in, right on the other side, is where we're going to start putting in 2 into that one there. So let's just half double crochet to that point, and I'll see you back there in just a moment. So now I'm coming up all the way back around. I can see where the stitch marker is right here. So that's gonna be the first time I've started to put in my 2. So I'm just making my way there now, and I got one more to go before I get there. So right where the stitch marker is right now is that this is the first time I'm gonna put 2 into this one, 2 into the next one, and 2 into the one after that. So I'm gonna start the first one, and we're gonna put 1 in there so far, and before you go on, grab this stitch marker and pull it up underneath that stitch, and that will signal next time that you're coming through here that this will be that time that you're going to make your additions at the end. So coming back into that same stitch, then just do another one. So now we're at the very end, just continue to rotate the project, and there will be 2 on the very end, and I'm gonna rotate the project as we go, and then in the next one there's going to be 2. So now all you're just gonna do now is that you're gonna half double crochet yourself across to the line, and right when you get to the next one that has the stitch marker, you're going to put 2 into that one, 2 into that one, and then join it at the end. So let's begin to do that. So just half double crochet yourself all the way to the other side, and I'll see you there in just a moment. So I'm coming up to the other side, and I'm just half double crocheting till I get to that stitch marker, and look, the stitch marker is next. So now in that one I'm going to place in my first one, and then I'm gonna move that stitch marker up into that first one, and then I'm going to half double crochet again into that one, and then the last one stitch that we have here is going to be 2 half double crochets. Now you're thinking to yourself, it looks like you have another stitch left. You don't. It's because it's opened up and it looks like it's open, but it's not. It's not one. It's part of the very first, and you're just going to join it to the first half double crochet. So remember, this chain that you have in the beginning doesn't count as anything, and you're gonna go right into the top of the half double crochet, just like there, and then just join it. See, and now you brought it up like that, and see the other side looks like a pocket as well, so you can see it works out really well. So let's move on to round number 3. So in round number 3 we're going to chain up 2, and then the first 2 that you have there will be 2 half double crochets each, and you're gonna power your way with half double crochets, 1 in each, all the way until you hit the first stitch marker, and then the next 6 in a row will all be 2 half double crochets, and then you're gonna power your way back, and right where you have the next stitch marker, the next 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4 will each have 2 half double crochets each, and then you just join it again. So let's begin round number 3. So let's begin round number 3. We're gonna chain up 2, does not count as anything, and in the same one that you did the join, I want you to put it in 2 half double crochets into that one. So 1 and 2, and in the very next stitch you're also going to put 2 half double crochets in there. So 1 and 2. So now you're gonna power your way across and just 1 half double crochet each until you hit that next stitch marker on the other side. I'll see you there in just a moment. So we're now coming up to the first stitch marker, and that is going to be the start of your next set of stitches. So I'm not gonna want you to move your stitch marker right now. I want you to continue as is. So for the next 6 half double crochets, or half double crochets, I want you to put 2 into each. So don't move that stitch marker. So the next 6 in a row are just 2 half double crochets each as we move our way around. So this is the third one of 6, and now this is gonna be the 4th, and then the 5th, and there's a reason why I'm not having you move the stitch marker, and I'll tell you in a second, and then we just have one more. So we have 6 in a row that each have 2 half double crochets. So now I want you to power your way now back to the beginning, and right where the other stitch marker is here, I want you to put 2 into each of the last 4. So I'll see you there in just a moment. So as we come back around, then you have the last stitch marker that's in place. So in that one begins the doubles, so put 2 half double crochets in each of those. So 1, and don't move that stitch marker, just leave it, and then the next 3 are all gonna have 2 half double crochets. So that was 1, 2, and 3. So now we're gonna slip stitch to the top of the first half double crochet and pull it shut. So if you've been working at it like this, what I want you to do is I want you to flip it up like this, so that you're working across in the front of the project instead of been going around the back and then coming back. It's the same direction, it's just a matter of just flipping it so that the you can see that the outside's just like that. So let's begin round number 4. So let's begin round number 4. We're gonna chain up 2 as we had been before. Round number 4, I didn't have you move any stitch markers because there's nothing to move, because in fact all of these here in round number 4 is just 1 half double crochet in each stitch all the way around. This is just relaxing the progression, and then finally in round number 5 when we do that we have one more growth spurt there, and then round number 6 all the way to 60 inches is just 1 half double crochet in each all the way around. So let's begin round number 4. So just to reiterate, if you've been crocheting like I have been where you're coming all the way around, what I want you to do is just flip it like this so that you're working on the front side and then going all the way down and back around. So this is gonna be the outside of the snuggle sack that you see here. So what you're gonna do then at this point is that you're going to chain up 2, and then right in the same one that you did the join with, you're going to put in a half double crochet, and this one all the way around for round number 4 is just 1 half double crochet in each. That's all you have to do for this one. So just go all the way around then for me on round number 4 of just 1 half double crochet in each stitch, and I'll see you at the end of this round. So I'm just doing 1 half double crochet in each for round number 4, and what we're going to do then, so this is the last one going in, and so what we're going to do is just slip stitch it to the top of the first half double crochet. Remember that chain 2 doesn't count as anything. So we just pull it on through. So what I want you to do now is that we are going to do some counting. So I know you love counting. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna get ourselves set up for the final round of number 5. This is the final growth period. But what I would do is count now and then move our stitch markers later. So what we're gonna do is let's pull out our stitch markers that are in and put them aside, because we're gonna need them just one last time. And right where we are now is considered the first stitch. So let's begin to count, and then I'll show you what to do from that point. So let's begin round number 5. In round number 5 we have a growth spurt again. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna chain up 2 and then 1 half double crochet into each. So the first one doesn't count as the first one, so we're gonna do 37 of its friends, so a total of 38. And then when we get to the 39th one, we'll put the 2 and 2 and 2 and 2 in a row, and then we're gonna count again to 38 on this side, and then we're gonna start the 2 2 2 and 2. So let's begin to do that. So let's begin round number 5. We're gonna chain up 2, and then we're just going to put 1 into the same one at the join, and now 37 in a row is going to be half double crochet. So you can count that out, and I will see at the end of 37. Okay, and so that was 1 and 2 and 3, and carry on, and I'll see you at 37. So now that I have my 37 across, the very next 4 in a row are each gonna be 2 half double crochets each. So let's do that. So 1, and then this one has 2, so this is number 2, and then this one has 2, and this is the third one, and the final one has 2, and that was 4. Okay, so you got 4 in a row that have 2. So now what we're gonna do is make your way all the way now back to the very beginning, and it's just easier if you count the 4th stitch back. If you want to count all these you can, but what I would do is probably just count back from here, and just the last 4 that you do will each be 2 half double crochets in each, and let's meet back there in just a moment. So now coming back to the start, and the final 4 stitches will all be 2 half double crochets in each. So how I finish round number 5 is gonna dictate of having no slip stitching for the remaining of the sack. So let's just, this is the third one of 4 and final 4th one of 4. There's 2 in each of those. And then what I want you to do, normally we would slip stitch, but in order to avoid any kind of slip stitching going all the way up through the sack, what I want you to do is that when we go to start the next round, which will be now round number 6 all the way to 60 inches, I just want you to immediately just half double crochet into the very first one. So don't slip stitch, just half double crochet into the very first one to begin and pull it nice and tight, just like that. So what you're going to do then is then you're just gonna progress and half double crochet all the way around. So this round and all the rounds to number 60 is that there will be no slip stitching left. So every time you come around, it'll just naturally grow up like kind of like a snail growing up. And so you're just gonna go round and around and around and around, no slip stitching at all, and you're gonna go all the way to 60 inches. So by the time you come all the way back and around here, you'll notice that there's no slip stitching. You just carry on a 1 half double crochet in each, and therefore you'll end up with a nice seamless look. So right as we stand right now, it looks really quite great. It's the right shape right at the very bottom. So now we're just going to go continuously around and around and around with no slip stitching, and you're gonna go right up to 60 inches. Let's pull up the project because I want to show you where you need to stop in order to bring this back into conclusion, because now we're in a continuous revolution with no slip stitching that you have to come at a middle point at the very top of this, and we're gonna meet back there in just a moment. So what I would do is put this video on hold now, do up your sack, and then meet me back here and I'll show you where to finish at that point. So I've already done my sack off camera. There's no slip stitching at all because I went in a continuous revolution like I just showed you. So there's no slip stitching at all. I love it. And then what you need to do is that you need to measure 60 inches from this edge all the way to the bottom edge on the other side. It'll take you a while to get there. I'm not going to deny that. So when you get around and you believe that it's 60 inches, what I want you to do is that I want you to get near to the halfway point. So you'll notice that this is folded kind of flat like this. So it's not folded in any kind of weird direction. And I want you to kind of get yourself close to the middle of the flap here. And what we're still doing is that we were doing half double crochet to get here. So now that you're close to the middle, I want you to single crochet the next 2, 1 and 2. And then I want you to slip stitch the next 2 right there, and then that's it. And what we're gonna do, even though you've been working in a continuous revolution, is that this could be hidden by the maiden anyway, so it's not like it's a deal breaker at all, right? So you're gonna use this side of your project in order to hide that. So you will notice that you were doing a continuous revolution, that it just got smaller and smaller and buried itself right back into the edge just like there. So taking your darning needle at this point, then you're going to want to then bury in the ends. Let me show you how to do that real quick. This stitch marker here was a result of that I was in bed doing most of this work, and I wanted to make sure it was at 60 inches, and I was so close I put in a stitch marker there. So all I want to do is just bury the yarn underneath the stitch work with the darning needle and going across, and then come back in the other direction for 2, and then finally in the other direction for 3. So that's how you bury in your ends as you go. So that's how you would get your sack done, and then we're ready then to move along in this project in order to do some other things. But the sack I think is probably going to be the most work of all of it. So let's continue along in the tutorial. The sack is done, but we have to make some components in order to finish. So the next part of this tutorial is that we're going to work on the snout. It's consisting of 2 pieces that I've already done one in advance to make sure I understood the pattern, but now we have to make a second one, and what we're going to do is do a second one that's identical to this, and then we're gonna single crochet ourselves around the edge here with both of them attached at the same time. So we'll go through both thicknesses so that we have a nice rounded smoother edge as we come, and then once we're ready, then we can sew this to the side of the snuggle sack in order to have the snout of the particular unicorn. So let's begin to show you how to do this. So as we begin to do the snout, we're going to start off with the longer chain like so, and then we're going to progress up, and then we start then decreasing stitches as we go, and the goal is to have 10 stitches left at the very top. So the nice thing about this is that you don't really have to check it off on your list that you're check 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 check. You just have to continue to get decrease, and then just check once in a while when you get your 10 done at the top, and then you're completely done. So let's grab our pink yarn and let's begin the snout now. So let's begin to do the snout. So using the pink yarn, what we're going to do is that we're going to insert a slip knot onto the hook. Remember that never counts as 1, and for the snout to begin we're going to chain 36. So 1, 2, 3 and 4 and go all the way to 36 for me. Meet me back here in just a moment. Now that my 36 is on, what I have is that row number 1, we're gonna go 3rd chain from the hook and we're gonna half double crochet into each. So 1, 2 and 3, and then turn it over and get the back loop of the 3rd one, and I want you to half double crochet in each chain all the way to the other side of the chain. So 1 half double crochet in each, and I'll see at the end of this chain. So I'm coming to the end of the chain and just got one more left, and rows 2 and 3 are going to be identical to each other. So remember that chain 2 in this particular project never counts as the first stitch. So we're just turning our work and chaining up 2, and in the very first one, so looking straight down on it, you're gonna put in your half double crochet and 1 half double crochet in each right to the very end. And then you'll turn it again and do row number 3 the exact same way. So rows 2 and 3 are just 1 half double crochet in each. Remember that the chain 2 at the very beginning of the rows don't ever count as a stitch. So please do that, and I'll see you at the end of row number 3. So I'm now at the end of row number 3. So you can see that it's kind of a box shape coming straight out just like this. So what we're going to do now is that we are going to start the progression of the taper. So the taper happens on both sides of the work, and it's really quite an easy thing to do. So the very first two stitches are gonna come together with the half double crochet 2 together, and the last 2 will come together with the half double crochet 2 together. So each row is gonna be the same way, so you're gonna end up with a progression of a decrease. So let's begin to show you how to do that. So you're gonna chain up 2, counts as nothing, and you're gonna come into the very first stitch that is in the first one here. You're gonna wrap and going in and pull through and hold it. So you end up with 3 loops on the hook. So now you're gonna come to the next one. So wrap and next one, pull through, okay, and hold it, and you end up having 5 loops now on the hook. So yarning over and pulling through all 5, and what this did is that it made the first 2 stitches just become 1 stitch, and now the rest are just gonna be 1 half double crochet in each. So what all I have to do is just watch the very ending and make sure that the final 2 stitches are going to be half double crochet 2 together. So I'll see you there in just a moment. So I'm coming up to the other side, and I'm just not counting, I'm just looking for the very final 2 stitches that are in. So I can see that there's one here in here, so that I have 3 left now, and I'm just gonna go into this last one just regularly, and then the last 2 are gonna come together. So just wrap and going in, pull through and hold it, and then go into the last one, pull through. So you got your 5 loops back on the hook and pull through all 5. So now just turn your work and you can see the progression just started. So to start again, just chain up 2, and the first 2 stitches become 2 together. So just wrap into the first one, pull through, wrap in into the next one, pull through. Now you got your 5 loops again, pull through all of those, and then just half double crochet yourself now back to the other side. So I'm gonna meet you back over there because I wanna make sure that you can identify what it looks like, and then you're gonna do the remaining on your own, and you'll keep doing these rows until you end up with only 10 stitches left, because you're eliminating a stitch on both sides as you're doing each row. So it'll progress down to only being 10 left at the very top. And at this point I just skipped over a stitch. So don't do that because it'll be very obvious, especially in the snout, and I'll see you at the end of this row. So as you come to the other side, just make sure that you can identify which is your stitches. See how this is all bunched? See how these are together? That's 1 stitch right there, and so then the stitch right before it is the one left over. So this stitch and this one are the last. So just make sure you can identify that when you get there. So you got 2 left. It looks like there's 3, but remember that chain 2 doesn't count as anything, it's just a builder. So just put the last 2 together and pull through all 5 loops, and then turn your work and begin it all over again. So then the first 2 become together, half double crochet, the last 2 to become together, and what you'll end up with in the future is that you'll end up with yourself coming all the way across, and this is what it will look like at this particular point. So you're just gonna get more narrow, and then we're gonna put the 2 stitches or 2 pieces together. So at the end of this one, if you have to do a second one, just fasten off, and if not, what I'm gonna be doing is that I'll show you then how to join everything together in order to complete the snout area. So let's continue that, and I want you to continue to go back and forth, get to your 10 leftover stitches, and then fasten off, and then we'll move on from this particular point in the tutorial. So we're now going to move on in the tutorial. We have 2 pieces just like so, and this is for the snout, and what I'm going to do is that I'm going to start on the one corner, and I'm gonna go all the way through, so just make sure that you get your yarn on first. So using the same color, just create a slip knot, put onto the hook, go into the front one, and then match the same one on the back side on the other one. So you have two of them on, two projects on your hook. So just attach it, so just pull through and through, chain up one and one single crochet in the same one you did the attaching. So all you're just gonna do now is that going through both pieces, so going into the first part, you're just gonna equally space out single crochets along the edge. And what you're gonna do is that you're gonna head on all the way down. So head on all the way down, turn your corner, don't put anything extra on the corner. That'll make it nice and rounded off. Continue along and then come down to the other side here and then fasten off. So all you're just doing is equally spacing out these, so make sure you go right into an actual chain work. Never go into a gap, because then it will force the stitches to create the gap there. So just going into the chain work on both sides of the work, and just continue to single crochet as evenly as you can all the way around. Well, all the way until the other side. So you don't have to do the back side here that is attaching to the actual project itself. So please do that, and I'll see you back here in just a moment. Okay, so now this is complete, and you can see that this is the inside just like so. So now I'm going to use this edge and sew it directly to the project, so to the sack. Actually, it kind of reminds me from this angle of a whale's tongue from this point of view. See, it's nice and thick, and we'll be dealing with this later in order to put on some embellishments to make it more look like a unicorn, of course. So let's move along in the tutorial. Let's move along to the mane next. Okay, so let's talk about the mane. Isn't that quite cute? It's a unicorn toupee. Hopefully you love it. So when I first saw this, I was thinking, oh Lord, I'm gonna have to put all these curlicues and attach each one and sew them. No, it's not like that. This is a one-piece unit. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a solid chain going across, and then we're gonna drop down and curlicue our way back up, and then move along in the chain, and then drop down and continue. So when we start this, we're gonna be starting with the small side first, and then we're gonna progressively get bigger. So what's gonna happen is that here's what it looks like in a diagram format. And what we have here is that we come across as the chains, and then we go second chain from the hook, single crochet, and then single crochet in the next. And then the first 6 of them is gonna be chain up. What we have is 13. There's gonna be 4 double crochets in the 4th chain from the hook, and then 4 double crochets in each one of the chains, working its way back down. You slip stitch to the beginning single crochet that you started with, you single crochet into the next, and then you single crochet into the next, and then go back up 13 and then work your way down just like you have. So you're gonna do the first 6 like that, and then after that it's gonna get bigger. So after you get the 6 done, you're then gonna chain up 26, and then the 4th chain from the hook will only be 3, and then every one of them all the way back down will be 4 double crochets in each. To come back, slip stitch, single crochet in the next, and then single crochet in the next, and then chain 26. And you basically do this set of the instruction all the way back then to the beginning of the chain, and then that would be like the toupee. So let's, without further ado, let's get you started on this one, and then I'm only gonna show it to you one time, and then you can use this set of instructions as what it says in the written instructions as well, or even use this as your model, because really it's that simple to do. So let's do that next. So let's begin, and we're going to create a slip knot, and we are going to chain a total of 49. So remember that the one on the hook never counts as 1 when you start. So let's go 1, 2, 3, and 4, and go all the way to 49 for me, and meet me back here in just a moment. So my 49 is complete. Now I want to turn it over and get second chain from the hook. So count back 1 and 2, go to the back hump only, the back loop only, and I want you to single crochet. So let's begin. We're going to then move to the next one and single crochet, and then we have to chain a total of 13. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So now what we're going to do is that we're going to count back 4 chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then that's just get the back loop only, and I want you to go into that same stitch for 4 double crochets. So 1 and 2, 3 and 4. And because you're putting so many double crochets in that stitch, it's gonna cause this whole thing to do a twist, which is the curls. So you're now gonna move to the next chain, and every chain all the way back down this until you get to where we had started down here is going to be 4 double crochets in each. So we just have to count those. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then keep on moving. So just go to the next chain available to you and another 4. So I'll meet you at the bottom of this chain. So once you come all the way back down, you're going to slip stitch just right into the same single crochet that you had started with. So just slip stitch there, and you're gonna progress to the next chain on the main chain, and you're gonna single crochet. So then you're gonna repeat this all over again. So you're gonna single crochet the next one, and then you're going to chain a total of 13, and then 4 double crochets, 4th chain from the hook, and 4 each all the way down. So you'll create all these. So you're gonna have a total of 6 of these shorter ones, and then after you get those 6 done, you're gonna stop, and then you're gonna continue then doing chain 26 and then make them even longer. The only difference is that the top of the curlicues will be 3 double crochets in the end, and then 4 into each one of them all the way back down. So you just have to continue to do this. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 and 13, and then 4 chain from the hook. So 1 2 3 and 4, and then 4 double crochets into there, and work your way all the way back down. And the goal is then for you is that you're gonna fill up this entire chain here full of these curlicues, and at the end what we're gonna do is that we're gonna attach this strip then to the top to give the look of the nice curlicues that the unicorn has. So please do that all the way down for your main, and if you have any questions that you can just look at the pattern for that, but that's exactly how it's done. So a few hours has gone by, and I've now done the main, and now you can see that there is the starting chain and all of the pieces. So when we started off we had smaller hair, and then we progressed after 6 of those hairs that came down, then the rest of them were all the longer hairs. So now is your chance to determine if your character is gonna look left or right. And the reason why it matters is that the first part is a smaller curl up here. So if you want your character to sit the other way, think about the couch that the child will be sitting on. Maybe looking this way is not the correct version, that maybe that child likes sitting on a certain side of the couch. So you have to decide that. So I'm going to match exactly what you have in the photo here, but whatever side that the character is gonna look to is gonna be the smaller side here. So we have some options at this point, and you can do this at this time as well, is that we are going to attach it to the beginning, or sorry, to the sack itself. So what I want to do is that I'm very partial to crochet, as you know, obviously the crochet crowd. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm going to attach this here with my crochet hook instead of sewing it on. You can sew it on if you wish. And what you want to do is that you want to attach your item to here. So you're gonna notice it's longer than the sack itself, so then you're gonna have to get creative and kind of bunch things up where you need to. And what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna take the same yarn, and I'm going to crochet with a single crochet going through the top here of this section and the sack at the same time, and then single crochet into position. If you're noticing here, this is where we finished off in the sack. So as I told you before, it doesn't matter that you're finishing off in the middle because it's gonna cover it anyway. So you have a seamless look, and you have one of these. But before you can really truly do that, you're gonna have to think about how it's gonna look. So this is longer than the actual width of the sack. So what we have to do is kind of untangle it here, and you want to look at it, get all of the, make sure all of the hair is on the one side of the chain so that you have a complete clear view. And then what you want to do is that you want to start attaching it with just some strings that you have, and then you want to attach so that you know how to bunch it up as you go. So what I'm gonna do is I'll just show you what I mean by that, and then I'm gonna do it, and then I'll bring back here and we'll crochet this into position. So using spare yarn, all you're just gonna do is you're gonna go onto the outside of the one over here, and you're gonna go right through, and you're gonna go to the side of the snuggle sack. So just go right in. So we're gonna work along the front edge of this. So what you wanna do is just pull it through, and you wanna take this string out later, so don't go crazy about tying it into knots. Just kind of loosely do it there. And then what I want you to do then is then come to the other side where it ends and go to the other side. So all of this here in the middle is gonna have to be bunched. So you're just gonna come in and attach. So this is your opportunity to kind of attach things as you see it, like that. and so then you want to kind of come into the middle one and attach the middle and attach here. And so what happens is that when you go across, then you can see it's all gonna bunch up. So when you were doing it, you're probably thinking, gee, it kind of looks sparse, but because you're bunching it up, it gives this unicorn a crazy looking toupee, and it's quite awesome. So, well, we should call it a mane, I guess. So that's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna attach more on here, and then I'll be back and I'll show you how to crochet it in position. So let's begin to attach. So I'm just gonna create a slip knot to begin. So the goal is to make sure that none of the hair here is left out. So don't just attach and then leave a section undone. So even if you have to just put 2 or 3 extra stitches to go into the outside or into the sack, it's good. So what we're gonna do is start off right at the edge, right where you have the other piece, and you're going to join it. And I really don't see the difference between sewing it and crocheting it at this point, because it's still gonna be awesome. And then just go into the same one and single crochet in position. And you might as well bury in the loose ends if you have any at this point as well. So get that all into position, and then you can get rid of that all at the same time. Okay, so as we go across, we're going to go into the next one of this, and I'm looking to where I attached. So you'll see that there's kind of openings. So if I squeeze them together, there's more stitches on the back than there are the front in this particular area. So I'm gonna have just to be creative and just be able to hide things on when I need to, right? So let's continue to do that. So I'm gonna go in that next one, and then I'm gonna go into the one in the back and just single crochet, and then go to the next one and go to the one in the back. So what happens is if I have more on one side or the other, so I can go into the same one, okay, so the same one I was just at, and I can advance in the back at least 1 or 2 if I wanted to, but I want to try to make sure that I'm getting a nice good attaching generally. So I don't want to leave any stitches untouched. So as I work across, I'm looking to where I see the attaching, and I'm gonna let the stragglers fall out of position at this point. I've got them buried in enough, and it's only distracting you, I'm sure. So we just go across, and we just start just single crocheting ourselves. So I'm gonna go into the exact same stitch again on the front side, but in the next one on the back, and that keeps me advancing. And make sure that you get a good firm hold of the stitch work that as you go across. Okay, so we just keep on doing that. And then we're at our first section here where I have attached it previously with something else. Okay, so I'm going in so you can see that the first part is attached. So this hair is now permanently into position. So as I work my way across now, I can take out that stitch marker. And again, you can sew this if you prefer. I like using the crochet hook as much as possible. I'm kind of addicted to it. I know, go figure, right? So you're just gonna continue to go along and match them as you go, keeping an eye on if there's any extra. You know, stretch it out if you have to, and just continue to go. So if what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into the same stitch again and advance one in the back. So nothing says you can't do that. There won't be any crochet police on your door tonight. So keep on working through and attaching your main as you go, and then at the end of this you want to fasten it off and weave in your ends, and then we'll be good to go with that and continuing along to make our character. So I recommend that you put on your main first before you're doing any eyes or anything, because you don't want to put on your eyes and realize that the hair is going to be covering the eyes. So make sure you do all this first, and then when I come back I'll have this done and we'll carry along in the tutorial with something else. So let's move on to doing the horn. So the horn's actually quite a simple idea, and this is just a portion of the instructions that you see, and then it says continue as established until 25 single crochets are in the round. So what we're gonna do is here, so I know it's hard to see, is that we're gonna start at the top of the horn and work our way down to getting bigger, and once there's 25 stitches in the circle at the main base, then you're done. And then what you're going to do then is lightly stuff it, and then you're gonna sew it to the underside of the sack here. So when I say the underside, it's on the top layer of this piece right here, and it's just right behind where the hair is sitting, and that's really quite an easy thing to do. So let's begin to do the horn next. So let's start your horn. I also recommend a stitch marker or an extra piece of yarn to mark your rounds. I've already done the first time of this and I really screwed it up because I can't see my ends. Because the reason why it's white yarn, it's really hard to see your start and stop. So what you want to do is get a stitch marker. Create a slip knot to begin. We're gonna chain 2. So let's do that. So 1 and 2. So let's start round number 1. So second chain from the hook, so 1 and 2, count backward and go into the, it's really the first chain anyway. So you're just gonna do 3 single crochets. So 1, 2 and 3, just like that. And what I want you to do is that I want you to slip stitch it to the first one. So 1, 2 and 3, just count it back on the first one, and I want you just to go into the first one and slip stitch it to the very beginning. So it's gonna be nice and tight. So what I want you to do for your own visual, I've already done it once and I screwed up and I'm kind of a professional, so I'd recommend just putting in a stitch marker to identify when you've gone all the way around so you can see it for next time. So let's start up row number 2. So all the incremental growth is the same when we're going to work on this particular project. So what I want you to do is that I want you to consider the idea of growth. So in order to do round number 2, we're gonna chain up 1, so and then do 1 single crochet in the same one that you did the join. The stitch marker is in that particular position as well. So you're gonna do 1 single crochet that's in the join, and then what you're going to do is that you're gonna do 2 single crochets into the next one. So 1 and 2, and then you're gonna do a single crochet into the very last one that's available to you. And then you're gonna slip stitch it to the beginning, and the stitch marker kind of shows you where that was before. So you just look up and just get the top one. If you're not sure, you can count back 4 this time. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. And for my own purposes, I'm going to pull that through and move that stitch marker up. I almost think this is one of those ones that it might be almost difficult to teach in a tutorial because it's so tight in the very beginning. So I'm just pulling it up so I can see where I am next time. So round number 3, so the growth is gonna change again. So we're gonna chain up 1, single crochet into the first one, just like this. And what I want to do is that I want to push it so that the point right now is coming towards me. So I'm gonna turn it kind of inside out or outside right. It's easier to access all the stitches this way as well. So the next one, it's now turned out the other way, and the next one is gonna be 1 single crochet by itself, and then the next one is going to be 2 single crochets into the same one. So the growth is always happening at the very beginning of a round, and then the very final stitch is going to be 1 single crochet into the final, and I'm just tucking in the loose end into the horn itself. So the next one is just 1 single crochet, and then you just join it to the very beginning single crochet that you'd started with the slip stitch, just like that. So now I'm gonna continue down to round number 4. So chain up 1, and we do 1 single crochet into this one, and then the next 2 this time are 1 single crochet. So 1 and 2, like that, and then the next one is gonna be 2 into the same one. So 1 and 2, and then the very final one is just 1 single crochet. So that was round number 4. So just join it to the very beginning. I can start seeing where my slip stitching is, so it's easier for me to be able to get beyond this point. So let me move on then. Round number 5 is chain up 1, and what we're going to do is that we're going to single crochet into the first one that you did the join with, and for round number 5 it's now gonna be 3 in a row. So 1, 2 and 3 for single crochets, and guess what the next one is? That's right, it's gonna be 2 single crochets. So 1 and 2, and then the last one is just 1 single crochet by itself, and then just join it to the beginning single crochet that you'd started with, just like that. So then we begin round number 6. And round number 6 is going to be chaining up one single crochet in the same one as a join, and this time the next 4 in a row are going to be single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then the next one is what? It's 2 single crochets. So 1 and 2, and then next one is 1 by itself, and then join to the very beginning one again. So that was round number 6. So round number 7, are you seeing see, it's growing by 1 stitch each to give a nice point. So our goal is to get the final round to have 25 stitches all the way around. So we're a little bit away from that for sure right now. So round number 7 is that we're going to continue along, and we're going to just dive into the first one, and the next 5 in a row are going to be single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then the next one is 2 into the same one, 1 and 2, and then 1 into the next one after that, and then just join. So do you see, if you're really getting a handle of it, you'll see that there's round 8 and 9. It's just the same thing. So just chaining up one single crochet into the next. So this time it's gonna be 6 in a row that are by itself. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then 2 into the next one, and then 1 into the one after that, and then join. And then finally the last instruction there that we have is round number 9. So just going in, going to the first one, and then the next 7 in a row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and then 2 into the next one, and then 1 into the one after that, and then join to the very beginning again. So you're gonna continue in the same manner. So the next time it's round number 10, there's gonna be 8 in a row. Then the next one will be 9 in a row, and then 10 in a row, and 11 in a row. And the goal is that you'll eventually come, and then you'll have to count at least 25 in the round. So continue the growth in the same manner. Meet me back here in just a moment. So once you have the size that you want to, leave an extra long tail because you use that to sew that to the project. And then what I want you to do is that if you want to do an optional stuffing, so it means that you're gonna just put some stuffing, and don't make it like a rock hard, but just grab some polyfill stuffing from like a craft store or whatever, and just lightly stuff your unicorn horn, just like so. So you just wanted to give it a bit of a poof, but not like rock hard crazy, and just put it inside. And then what we're gonna do later on is that I'm going to show you the assembly part of this, but keep this aside for now. Try to get the stuffing as far down as you can. You know, use your tools to be able to push things down if you have to, and just kind of warp it around, and etc. Okay, so let's keep that aside now and then we'll revisit this in the future and then bring it back. So let's move on to the heart next. The snuggle sack has a heart, and we're gonna start at the base and then work our way up, and then we're gonna do one side of the top of the heart and then the other side, and then we're going to do a full circle of that, and then we're gonna sew that directly down to the project. So that will be the whole assembly part as far as getting all the pieces, and then we're gonna start putting this together. And what I'd recommend is put on the snout first, and then we're going to then put on the heart and then the horn, and then just put in the facial expressions. It's easier to do that. You'll notice that the snout is slightly further down from where the snuggle sack finishes at the top, so make sure you don't attach it to the top lip here. Move it slightly down, and then you can align everything up properly that way. So let's do your. So as I stated, we're going to start with the heart, and we're going to create a slip knot to begin, and we're going to start at the base of the heart. So let's just chain 2 to begin. So 1 and 2, and second chain from the hook I want to do 1 single crochet. So just count it back. It's the very first one that you started. So 1 and 2, and then that's your very first one, just like that. Okay, so there we go. And what we're going to do is that we are going to turn our work and chain up 1, and in the only stitch that's there we are going to put in 3 single crochets. So 1, 2, and 3, and then we're gonna turn our work, move up the row. So we're gonna begin again, so chain up 1, and we're gonna do 2 single crochets into the first one. So 1 and 2, and then we're gonna 1 single crochet to the next, and then the last stitch will have 2 single crochets in it too. So here's the repeat pattern. It's actually really quite simple, is that every time you start a row you'll have 2 single crochets, and every time you finish a row there will be 2 single crochets. So turn our work and let's move up to row number 4. In row number 4, chain up 1, 2 single crochets into the first one. So 1 and 2, and then 1 into each one of the next ones that are available to you, and in the very last one you're going to have 2 single crochets into that one. So 1 and 2, just like that. So the goal for you is to have 15 stitches all the way across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 is where we are now. So I want you to continue in the same manner till you get to the number 15, and then join me back here, and then we'll carry on in this project. So just remember how to start. So chain up 1, 2 singles in the beginning, and then 1 single in each across, and then the final one has 2 single crochets in it. Please do that until you have 15 stitches all the way across. So just a few minutes ago I left you, and honestly it didn't take that long, and now I have my 15 single crochets across. So the next 2 rows what we're going to do is continuously repeat until there's 23 stitches then. So you'll notice that it's jetting out really quickly, and now we're gonna calm it down as we continue to the top of the heart. So for the next few rows until there's 23 stitches along the top, then you're going to continue along. So the next row is just chain 1 and 1 single crochet into each. So there's no growth every other round, so it's just 1 single crochet into each. So that calms it down to get that more rounded edge of a heart. And then in the next row we carry on to what we already know that we have been doing. So this row and the next row are the repeat rows until there's 23 stitches. So 1 right to the very end. So turn our work. So the next row is just adding that extra one at the beginning. So chain 1, you'll put 2 single crochets in the first one, and then you'll put 1 single crochet into each all the way across, and except for the last one you'll put in 2 there, and then that'll increase your stitches. So I need you to repeat this last row and this row multiple times until there's 23 stitches all the way across. So here we are, and we got 23 stitches across, and what I want you to do is that we're going to eliminate a stitch right in the middle of this thing to bring balance to it. So we're going to begin the next row, and then after this row we're gonna do the hump, 1 hump, and then we'll come back and do the second. So what we're going to do is that chain up 1, and we're gonna do 1 single crochet into each of the next 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So we've got the 11. So you're nearly at the halfway point, and then the next 2 are together. So just going into the next stitch, pull through, and go into the next stitch, pull through, and then pull through all 3 loops. That was the 2 together, and then the remaining of the stitches all the way across would just be 1 single crochet. Please do that, and then I'll meet you back here and we'll start one of the humps. Okay, so we're gonna turn our work now, and we're gonna do 1 hump, and so we're gonna do a partial way across and then finish that hump, and then we'll come back and do the other one. And when we do the other one we're gonna start here. So notice where we are right now, and it's gonna become obvious too, and I'll show you that too as well. So we're going to begin the first one. So we're gonna chain up 1, and we're gonna do a single crochet 2 together. So the first 2 are gonna become together. So 1 and 2. So put those together as 1. And then what we're going to do then is 1 single crochet in each of the next 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then the next 2 are together. So 1 and 2. So you can see we're kind of at the halfway point, just like where we're supposed to be. So we're gonna turn our work and just turn it and chain up 1, and we're gonna do 1 single crochet in each across the rows. So I'm not even gonna count those, and this gives it time to be able to grow properly as well. Sometimes if you rush the process, especially in crochet, you end up with things you really don't want in there. So we turn our work now and let's go again. So what we're going to do is that we are going to go across for the 3rd row. So chain up 1, put the first 2 together. And you can count your stitches across, but if you can just identify the last 2, then you don't have to. So just 1 single crochet across. And then the last 2 are together. And then we're gonna turn our work, and it says do as row number 2, and row number 2 is just chain up 1 and 1 single crochet into each. Just making sure I got that last one in right. So it just got it in. So just 1 single crochet in each. And carrying on. So turn our work, and I'm just gonna flip my page here. So the 5th row is just chain up 1, and we're gonna single crochet the first 2 together, just like that. And then the next 3 are singles, but you don't need to count those because you can just look at the last 2 and put those together if you wish. But it's always good to have a verification. And then we turn our work again, and we're going to do another 2 together. So turn our work, so chain up 1, put the first 2 together, and then 1 into the next one, and then the next 2 are together. And then all we're just gonna do is fasten off. So you have 3 stitches left at the top. So we're gonna fasten that off, and we're gonna go back and we'll start the other hump. So the other hump is very similar into instructions, and the only difference is that where you're starting. So let's turn it back. Remember that we started and we did the hump starting on this side. So I want you to turn the hump, or sorry, turn the heart so that you're starting in the center here, and then we're gonna continue to do this side then, continuing up. If you start here, what happens is that you'll see that there's a break in the pattern, and that you'll see that there's a line that's gonna be misaligned. So you gotta make sure you start looking at this particular position here. So let's create a slip knot here, put it onto the hook. So we're going to go into the very next stitch after the first one has already been in here. So you see this is joined, so we're gonna come to the next one right after it, and we are going to go in there, and we're going to just attach it, chain 1, and we're gonna put the first 2 together. So just going in that one and its friend, and then you can either count it, okay, and there should be 7, or you can just go right to the last 2 and put the last 2 together. Either way, you're good to go. So here's the last 2 right here, 1 and 2. So put those 2 together, just like that. And now it says to work the 2nd and to 6th rows all over what you already know. So in the 2nd, remember what we did is that we chained up 1, and we did 1 single crochet in each. And then we turned our work and went for row number 3, which is a decrease again. So chain up 1, put the first 2 together, and then single crochet across, except for the very final 2 where you'll put those 2 together. So the very final 2 put together. Turn your work. The next one's like row number 2 again, so it's just 1 single crochet in each. Okay, turn your work. Okay, and we're gonna put the first 2 together, and then single crochet the rest except for the final 2 where we'll put those 2 together. Like that. And then we're gonna turn our work, and you can see we're close to the top, and we're gonna put the first 2 together again. single crochet the next one and put the final 2 together, and you're back with the remaining 3 stitches on board. So that's it for that. And what we're gonna do is that we're gonna trace it with some single crochet after this, and I'll show you how to do that as well. So just fasten these off and you can just leave them holding, and we'll bury those as we go. So using your same yarn, you can use a different color if you wanted to as well, if you want it to be a little bit creative. And you can just join it to the tip, so make sure everything's nice and tight, and you're gonna go into the tip and you're going to attach. Just bury in any loose yarns that you have as you go. So just chain up 1 and put in 3 single crochets right into the tip of the heart. So because you've done single crochet, you can just follow this around with each row equaling a single crochet. So just turn it and just work your way up evenly as a single crochet, and just follow it all the way around. The tip is the only piece that has the extra stitch, so you're just gonna single crochet across and then just follow it around and keep on single crocheting and come right back to the end. So I'll leave that for you, and I'll see you back here in just a moment. So I'm coming all the way back to where I had started, and I'm just going to join it with the very first one that I had begun. So now what I want to do is leave an extra long yarn tail here, and I want to leave enough that I can sew the entire perimeter of this to the sack itself. So leave on extra yarn at this point. Take off any loose ends that you may have, or just weave them in and get rid of it, and then see me back here and we'll carry on in this project. So now it's time to do the assembly. So here's the snout as we have here. So as I said, here is the top edge of where the hair starts. This is the shorter hair comparison to the longer hair. So whatever side that you put the hair on that's shorter is the side that the snout will be on. So what you want to do is you want to kind of look at the photo and see where those hairs are coming down. So you'll notice that the hairs are coming down and then the snout kind of starts. So see how it's kind of just leaning down? So I think it's right about here. So what I want to do is that I want to use the same color that I'm using here for the snout, and I want to whip stitch around to the edge of this, and then I'm going to go all the way across, and then I'm going to turn it over and whip stitch on the other side, so everything is attached on both sides of the snuggle sack. So not only is this side attached, but the other side is as well. So let's begin to do that. Let's grab your yarn and let's get the darning needle and let's begin. So to begin, just create a slip knot, and then that'll be the section that you go in to fasten. So what I'm gonna do is just grab my darning needle here off camera and pull it, push it through the eye of the needle. There we go. So what I want to do is start off at the bottom, right in the piece there, and I want to start off and I just want to grab a piece of this snuggle sack, and once you start it then it'll pretty much align to each other and pull through. And before you do that though, just push it through the slip knot, and what that will do is it'll lock it into position onto itself. So you have a tie. So then just use the straggler here. So just move down the stitch and down the side of the snuggle sack. So don't have it going across that it's gonna go like this. Just keep it equal to the side of the snuggle sack right in the fold. So you're just gonna concentrate on the stitch work that is on the one side of the snout, so the other one is already there, and I'm gonna, when I turn it over, I'll get the other side and lock that into position. So just keep on moving down, and eventually you'll run out of that straggler that you're bearing. So you're keeping that straggler down on top of it, and it gets stuck underneath the sewing. And then you can push it to the underside, then it'll be inside the snout as well. So what I want you to do is that I will get all the way to the top here, and then I'll turn it over and I'll see you back there in just a moment. So once you come all the way to the one side, just flip it over. I did this with the other snuggle sacks as well, and I want to sew on both sides of the project. It just makes it extra secure. So you can see that the first side is already attached, and now I'm just going to continue to move down this side. Just kind of keep everything nice and flat for you, and attaching this side of the snout also to the snuggle sack to the same edge, and moving all the way down, and I'll see you at the end of this. So once you're back at the beginning to where you were, started all over again, I want you to tie a quick knot first, so it loops onto itself, And then all I want you to do is go in and out of the project 3 times. So just glide it along into the stitch work. Don't go all the way through, just into the actual fibers. Come across once, go back in the other direction for twice, and then into the third direction a third time, like so. So now you can safely cut that down to your project because it's woven in and out, back and forth underneath the stitches 3 times. So let's carry on in today's project. So let's put on our heart next. So here's the snout, and the direction of the face is gonna look this way. So it's just like what you saw in the model. So what we want to do is that we want to put on a heart, and I notice that the heart is almost in line to the top of the snout. So what you want to just do is just kind of line it up as close as you can to it. What I'd recommend to you is that you may want to consider some stitch markers. I'm kind of paranoid for putting stuff on sideways because honey, it wouldn't be the first time I ever did it. And what I want to do is that I'm gonna kind of look down straight on this thing, and I want to just go into the top stitch work only, so not all the way through the sack, and I want to pull through there and through the top of the heart and lock it into position. So therefore when I'm diving in and out of the stitches, I don't accidentally start turning this heart in a really weird direction. Also you can kind of see what it looks like. So you see how it's in this line here? That's where I want to go here as well. So you always look for clues on certain stitch work like that. So we left out an extra long tail on this thing. So what I can do, just kind of lay it flat. We're gonna put this darning needle back in, and what we're gonna do is trace the heart and put it down to the top fibers. Don't go all the way through the project because then you'll prevent the sack from opening up, right? So what you want to just do is kind of glide underneath the stitch work in the first set of fibers that you have. So let's just go into the point. Okay, and I want to grab under just a few of the strands that are underneath and pull through. And once I get it into the position the first time, is that it's easy to be able to knock this out of the park. So I can dive in now anywhere I want to, and if I'm gonna stitch a whack of stitches, I want to skip it on the back. I don't want to skip it on the front, and I know you can't see this, but I'm just going under some fibers. Okay, so I'm not going all the way through this whole panel. Okay, so I'm gonna come out and then back up. So I want to stick underneath the stitch work, so don't impede the outside edge at all. Just stay on the inside of that, and then just dive into the very next stitch, and then just grab some more fibers on the other side, and then back out on the outside like so. So depending on the use, so you shouldn't be able to get your fingers in behind this heart if you were to push in. So what I want you to do is just dive in and out with your darning needle and attach your heart into position. So let's now work on the eye. So what we're going to do here is that we are going to begin with the slip knot, and black yarn is almost impossible to use here on tutorial format, so you have to just follow along the best you can. So we're going to do a total chain of 15. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So that's what it kind of looks like so far. So what we're going to do is that we're going to go slip stitch second chain from the hook. So count it back, so 1 and 2, and slip stitch second chain from the hook, and then it says to chain 4. So let's begin. So slip stitch in the next 2 stitches, sorry. So then we slip stitch second chain from the hook, and we're gonna slip stitch again for the another 2. So 1 and 2, and then it says to chain a total of 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and it says slip stitch in the second chain from the hook. So 1 and 2, slip stitch second chain from the hook, and then slip stitch in each of the next stitches that are left. So you're kind of creating an eyelash, right? So now you're gonna come back down to the main chain, and you're going to slip stitch each in the next 2 stitches. So you're gonna go 1 and then go into the next one for 2 and do another, and then go into the third and then chain 4 again. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, second chain from the hook and slip all the way back down that same chain, and you're gonna sew this onto your project when you're done. So you're coming right back down, and then you're going to come back down to your original chain and slip stitch again, another 3 in a row. So 1, 2 and 3, and then chain 4 again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, second chain from the hook, slip stitch back all the way down, and then carry on again. So slip stitch in the next 3, 1, so that was a single crochet, so just keep on pulling it through, and then 2 and 3, and then chain 3. So you got 1, 2, 3 and 4, so chain 4 all together, and then just slip stitch again, coming right back down to the original chain. So you're really kind of creating a motif. And then what you just want to do is slip stitch in the remaining chains that are available to you here on the eyelash. So that was it. So that's it. So there is your eye now. So with your eyelashes and etc. So what I want you to do is that I want you to fasten off, leave it on an extra long tail so that you can use that as a sewing strand, and then just pull through. And then what I want you to do is look at the particular model. So if you notice on the model that the eyelash here area is kind of pointing up more on the one side, and also if you look at the snout, it's usually right in line with where the snout is doing the bend. So look at that and then sew that into position just like you have with the heart. So let's do your mouth next, and we're going to create a slip knot to begin, and it's really quite simple, just chain 15. So let's do that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 and 15. So going second chain from the hook, all you just need to do is second chain going into the back loop only, and I want you to slip stitch all the way across your chain, leave on an extra long tail, and then fasten off, and then use that to create the mouth, and look at the photo for product placement or for motif placement and sew it into position. So please do that now. So next up is the nostril. Really quick, easy, just one round, and you're just going to chain a total of 5. Let's begin. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and we're gonna do single crochet second chain from the hook. So just go back to the second chain from the hook, single crochet, and single crochet in X to the next next 2. So just keep on going. So 1 and 2, just like that. And then what I want you to do is that 3 single crochets in the last chain that's available to you. So 1, 2 and 3, and this is how kind of we started, right? So now we're gonna just keep on turning that chain. So we were like this, and we're gonna keep turning it, and we're gonna come on the underside of it. So we're just going to carry on and carry on in the other side of the chain, and you just want to single crochet yourself back. So 1, 2, and the last stitch here you want to put in a total of 2 more single crochets. So 1 and 2, and then you want to slip stitch then to the beginning one that you had started with. So you end up with kind of like a rounded rectangular kind of nostril section right there. So now you're just gonna fasten your work off, and then you're gonna sew that into position exactly where you see it also on the model. So do that, and I'll meet you back here in just a moment. So with my little sleepy unicorn, I have the eyes, the nostril, the mouth all into position here, and what is left? Well, it can't be a unicorn without the horn, right? So we're just gonna shift all the hair back up, and we want to position the horn. So just pull the horn from wherever you have it stored, And what we're going to do is that we're going to attach it to the underside of where the hair is. So you want to create that angle. So you may want to lay this down and have that perfect angle, and I want you to position it inside like so, so that it's popping out. You don't want it popping straight out, of course. You want it popping out towards the face of there. So what you want to just do is kind of look at it, pull it back. Does it match the look? Yeah, that's about right. And what I want to do is put the yarn into the darning needle, and I want you to sew the horn into position. So remember that we lightly stuffed the horn, and it keeps it from actually collapsing, so that's kind of why they have it stuffed, but if you don't want to stuff it, that's up to you. So you're just gonna go straight through the project here, and then you're just gonna grab some of the fibers in behind. Give it a really good strong, like lots of yarn to be able to grab onto it. It is the horn. Chances are the child will grab onto it more often than you prefer. And then you're just gonna whip stitch back into the horn. And I would consider, because it is a popular feature, is that, and then go into the actual project itself and then come back out to the horn again. I would probably sew it back and forth maybe twice. And then once you get it all the way across on the other side, what I would do is just kind of give it a good quick tie right now, and then take the remaining and just drag it through only the white section only. Drag it through how many times? That's right, you wanted to do it 3 times to lock that into position. You might want to tell your kids not to grab your unicorn by the horn. Tell them it's rude or something. Remember, it is an add-on motif, so it can have the potential to be ripped off if somebody's not that careful with it. But of course, you know, your children probably have better respect than some of us adults. At least we hope, right? So what we have now is that the horn is now complete, and it's now up. My unicorn is now sleeping, and I got my nose in and everything. I got my heart because it's full of love, and that's how you do the unicorn snuggle sack by Yarnspirations.com. Have a great day, and we'll see you again real soon. And thank you so much for joining me today. Bye-bye.